You know the Jetsons, right? Flying cars, robot maids, that catchy theme song. The cartoon that promised us a shiny future. But here's what you don't know. Two lead actors literally died in the recording booth. The beloved Judy Jetson was replaced after completing all her work. And that cheerful future, built on environmental catastrophe nobody wanted to acknowledge. Today I'm revealing 20 wild facts about the Jetsons that will completely shatter your childhood nostalgia. The Jetsons. Number 20, ABC's first color show died because nobody could see color. September 23, 1962. The Jetsons debuts as ABC's first ever color program. Hanna-Barbera had just conquered primetime with the Flintstones. They had the formula, the talent, history on their side. 24 episodes later, canceled. For decades, everyone assumed the show ran much longer because those same 24 episodes played on endless repeat. Kids watched them hundreds of times without realizing they were seeing the exact same stories. Here's what killed it. Less than 3% of American households owned color TVs in 1962. That bright, shiny future rendered in vivid Technicolor? Most of America watched it in black and white. In color, Orbit City gleams. It promises. In black and white, flat, gray, dead. The future nobody could see in color became the past nobody remembers accurately. Number 19. Do the math on their ages. George is 40, Jane is 33, Judy is 16. Do the math. When Judy was born, George was 24 and Jane was 17, maybe 16 depending on pregnancy timing. These aren't fan theories. These are the official ages established by Hanna-Barbera in their show Bible. A 24-year-old man and a teenage girl starting a family. The creators wrote this down and never questioned it. The future was supposed to evolve beyond 1962's norms. Instead, it preserved them like insects in amber. Number 18. Jane has every convenience and still can't work. Jane lives 100 years in the future. She has a robot maid that eliminates housework, a food machine that prepares meals instantly, technology that makes traditional homemaking obsolete. So what does Jane do with her liberated time? Nothing. She's still just a housewife. The opening credits show George trying to give Jane an allowance. She has no income of her own, before she grabs his wallet and flies to the mall. Women be shopping. The entire joke. Hanna-Barbera imagined robots, flying cars, and video phones 100 years before they existed. But a woman with a career? A mother who didn't define herself by household management? That future was too radical to conceive. The space age had room for everyone, as long as women knew their place. Number 17. One episode exists just to say, women can't drive. Jane's driving lesson dedicates its entire runtime to the hilarious premise that women are terrible drivers. When Jane takes flying car lessons, her instructor checks his life insurance policy before getting in. A bank robber jumps in the car, then begs to go to jail rather than endure another minute with Jane behind the yoke. The episode ends with Jane telling George, "I don't really care much about driving anyway." The stereotype wasn't new in 1962. It dated back to the 1920s. But the Jetsons broadcast this prejudice to millions of children as futurism, teaching a whole generation that even in 2062, women still can't be trusted with vehicles. Progress without progress, the future that changed nothing. Number 16. The optimistic vision runs on environmental apocalypse. Notice something about the Jetsons? Nobody ever goes to the ground. Every building stands on impossibly tall stilts. Everyone lives in the clouds. Flying cars aren't luxury. They're necessity because there's no surface to drive on. The show never explains why. The implications tell you everything. Sometime before 2062, Earth's surface became uninhabitable. Pollution, flooding from climate catastrophe, mountains of garbage that made ground-level living impossible. The 1990 movie finally addressed it. Thick, choking smog covers everything below the clouds. But the original series just avoided showing you what happened down there. They gave you gleaming towers and left the wasteland to your imagination. That cheerful, retro-futuristic vision isn't optimism. It's escape. Humanity didn't build upward because they could. They built upward because they had to. The Jetsons aren't living in the future. They're living in the aftermath. Number 15. The talking dog is casually horrifying. Astro can talk. He replaces consonants with R's, creating his signature speech pattern. I revru, reorg, and nobody questions it. Think about what that means. Astro is described as a GMO, a genetically modified organism. Sometime between now and 2062, scientists gave dogs human language capability, created animals with human-level consciousness, then sold them as pets. The show treats this as adorable. The reality? They've created sentient beings and reduced them to servitude. Astro expresses complex emotions, understands abstract concepts, forms deep relationships. He's not a pet. He's a person trapped in a dog's body, legally owned by the Jetsons. Even in their most advanced future, they couldn't imagine animal rights. They just made the exploitation more sophisticated. Number 14. Rosie. The robot reveals the hidden class system. Jane can only afford Rosie because she's an outdated XB500 model from You Rent a Maid. Let that sink in. The Jetsons can't buy their own robot. They rent an obsolete one because newer models cost too much. In the future of infinite technological advancement, economic inequality still forces families into budget options, still creates tiers of service based on how much you can afford, still makes the difference between good and cheap visible to everyone who walks into your home. And Rosie, an older model that calls her predecessor mother, works tirelessly for a family that couldn't afford anything better. Rosie's servitude dressed up as family membership reveals the truth. Even liberation technology replicates class systems, if you let it. Number 13. Two voice actors literally died, making the movie February 11, 1989. George O'Hanlon just finished recording his final lines as George Jetson for the 1990 movie. He complains of a headache, gets taken to St. Joseph's Hospital in Burbank, dies of a stroke that same day. O'Hanlon had already suffered a previous stroke that left him blind with limited mobility. For the 1980s revival and movie, director Gordon Hunt had to read every line to him. O'Hanlon would repeat them back, one at a time, hour-long sessions, separated from the cast, recording in darkness. 5 months later, Mel Blanc, voice of Mr. Spacely, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and basically every cartoon character you've ever loved, also died during production. Voice actor Jeff Bergman had to complete their remaining dialogue, imitating the dead. The movie was dedicated to both of them, but dedication doesn't change what happened. They worked until it killed them. Number 12. They erased Judy after she'd already finished. Janet Waldo voiced Judy Jetson for 27 years. Through every series, every special, she was Judy. For the 1990 movie, she recorded every single line, completed her entire performance. Then Universal Studios and pop singer Tiffany's management demanded a change. They replaced all of Waldo's dialogue with Tiffany after Waldo had done all the work. The studio wanted younger demographics. They thought Tiffany's name would boost box office returns. They paid Waldo in full, but stripped her voice from the character she'd originated for nearly 3 decades. Waldo was totally crushed. Voice director Andrea Romano tried removing her own name from the credits in protest. Joe Barbera later apologized publicly, explaining he couldn't stop Universal's decision. The cruelest irony? By July 1990, Tiffany's pop career had already nosedived. Her last hit was 1988. Critics savaged her voice acting. Fans revolted. The movie underperformed. Janet Waldo was erased from her defining role for nothing. Number 11. George's brutal job is actually 9 hours a week. Every episode, George drags himself home from work, exhausted, complaining about his brutal job. His job is pressing buttons. That's it. He watches a screen and presses buttons when told, and he works 3 hours, 3 days a week, 9 hours total. This is the future's idea of full-time employment, and George treats it like backbreaking labor that's destroying his soul. In 1962, when the average American worked 40 to 50 hours in actual demanding jobs, here's this cartoon character whining about his 9-hour button-pressing gig. The show accidentally revealed something uncomfortable. When you eliminate labor through automation, people don't become fulfilled. They just complain about easier problems. George isn't struggling under capitalism. He's drowning in meaninglessness despite having everything automated. Number 10. The rivalry. Powering the show is completely meaningless. George works for Spacely Space Sprockets. Their rival is Cogswell Cogs. Sprockets versus Cogs. The great industrial competition of 2062. Fortunes rise and fall. George gets fired and rehired based on who's winning. Except here's the secret. One episode reveals there's no actual difference between Sprockets and Cogs. The distinction is meaningless. The entire economic system, all the corporate espionage, Spacely's obsessive rivalry, George's job security hanging by a thread, built on nothing. The show meant it as a throwaway joke. But think about what that implies. The future economy runs on manufactured competition over functionally identical products. Workers suffer because executives need enemies to justify their existence. Look at modern tech companies. Look at planned obsolescence. Look at brand loyalty wars over products that are 90% the same. The Jetsons didn't predict flying cars, they predicted late-stage capitalism's final form. Number 9. Spacely fires. George in every episode. "You're fired!" Spacely's catchphrase. He fires George constantly, sometimes for nothing, then rehires him by episode's end. This isn't comedy. This is workplace abuse as entertainment. George lives in constant fear. No union, no safety net. The show taught children this was normal, that bosses wielding termination as psychological torture was just how work functioned. Number 8. Spacely objectifies the teenage daughter. When Mr. Spacely visits, he comments on Judy's development, observations about her body, her father's boss sexualizing his teenage daughter. The show treats this as background noise, normal. Every girl watching learned this was just how the world worked. Number 7. That ending is about losing control. George on the treadmill. Astro chases a cat. The machine speeds up. George screams, "Jane, stop this crazy thing!" Kids saw comedy. Adults should see terror. George is trapped on technology he can't control. If he falls, he plummets to the uninhabitable surface. This aired during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Jetsons gave you utopia, then showed why you should fear it. Every convenience removes agency. George screaming embodies humanity's relationship with progress. Utterly dependent, completely out of control. Number 6. It's not future. It's 1962's fears. The Jetsons premiered during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Americans watched George press buttons while Kennedy and Khrushchev played nuclear chicken. The premise was psychological comfort. Here's a future where humanity survived. But look closer. George fears unemployment constantly. Systems malfunction daily. Robots go rogue. The surface is uninhabitable. Humans are useless in their automated world. The Jetsons wasn't predicting the future. It was processing anxiety about losing control, disguised as comedy. Number 5. Robots have consciousness and zero rights. RUDI falls in love with Cogswell's computer. SARA betrays company secrets because he's seduced. Rosie calls her predecessor Mother, falls in love with another robot. These are conscious beings capable of love, loyalty, betrayal, and they're treated as property. Rosie can be rented, returned, replaced. The future created conscious beings, then enslaved them, made them sentient enough to suffer and powerless enough to discard. Number 4. Gender roles are actively taught. The instructor's car changes its sign to Woman Student Driver when Jane gets in. Jane becomes a feather brain behind the wheel. A clothing sale billboard distracts her. The message? Women's brains can't handle vehicles and shopping simultaneously. This wasn't reflection. This was teaching. millions learned that even after 100 years, women would still be intellectually inferior and unsuited for machinery. Number 3. The 1990 movie reveals the hidden exploitation. Spacely opens a factory on an asteroid at 1/10 Earth's cost. He's destroying an alien species called grungies, their home collapsing from mining equipment. He knows it's killing them. He's willing to bury the Jetsons alive and see the grungies go extinct for his millionth sprocket. The truth, the future's prosperity runs on exploitation. That shiny utopia exists because someone else pays the price. Number 2. Spacely is class satire nobody caught. Spacely's deliberately drawn extremely short, bald, tiny mustache, Napoleon complex. In contrast with George, taller, mild-mannered, working class. This was 1962 class commentary. The boss who has everything but needs to dominate others to feel adequate. Spacely could treat George well. Instead, he needs George to fear him. Needs that "you're fired" power. The show revealed that wealth doesn't fix the human need for dominance. It just gives more tools to exercise it. Number 1. We built this future and proved humanity's darkest truth. The Jetsons premiered in 1962, set in 2062. We're now closer to the show's future than its past. We got video calls, robot vacuums, smart homes, voice assistants, all the gadgets. We also got everything they hid: environmental catastrophe, meaningless corporate rivalries, massive wealth inequality, automation that eliminated purpose along with labor. Most damningly, we got the future where progress didn't solve inequality, prejudice, or suffering. It just repackaged them in shinier forms. Jane still stays home despite no housework. Judy's still defined by shopping. George still fears his boss. The 1990 movie showed Spacely destroying an alien civilization for cheaper manufacturing. The Jetsons promised technology would liberate us. Instead, it revealed something darker. Given infinite technological progress, humanity recreates the exact same hierarchies, gender roles, class systems, and exploitation. We built the future the Jetsons imagined. We forgot to build better humans to inhabit it. We have the gadgets, the automation, the connectivity, and we're still trapped, still screaming for someone to stop this crazy thing while it carries us forward at speeds we can't control. The tragedy isn't that we don't have flying cars. It's that we got everything else, and it changed nothing about who we are. The Jetsons wasn't a vision of the future. It was a warning we ignored while humming the theme song. From studios working voice actors to death to futures that preserved every prejudice, the Jetsons stands as a monument to missed opportunity. We got gadgets without growth, automation without liberation, the future without progress. Speaking of animation studios erasing talent, the way Disney treated their first voice actors makes this look merciful. The original Mickey Mouse voice actor's story reveals how far studios will go to erase the people who built their empires. If these dark secrets shocked you, hit subscribe. Because childhood memories are always darker than you remember, and I'm here to show you exactly what they've been hiding.